Could you briefly introduce yourself and UNSHOT as well as the kinds of AI-driven projects your team focuses on?
My name is Vicent Llopis, and I'm one of the executive creative directors at UNSHOT. UNSHOT is an LA-based production company. We're in California, but we develop projects around the world. We come originally from the advertising world, even though we've been doing a lot of work when it comes to full feature films, documentaries, and vertical microdramas. Now it's been a huge thing for us where we either help creators with their scripts or we work on projects that are requested from us to develop trailers, mood videos, episodic microdramas, initial episodes, things like this. So we've been doing a bit of everything, and we do full AI from full AI projects to what's now called the hybrid projects, where we just work together with a traditional production company and we enhance the film or use AI to generate certain assets that traditionally you would do in CGI or VFX.
Yeah, just add one more question. Have you ever produced or do anything hybrid, those microdrama?
Yes, we've done some stuff in situations where they wanted to do something that was would have been quite complicated to do with VFX or something that they could not afford with CGI, and they combined the human element and the traditional shoot with some effects that we were able to accomplish in a way that not only were more cost efficient but also faster to produce with the same or better results that they would have gotten before. So it's a recurrent topic right now. It's been for the last 3 months, I would say. But every single day, more and more production companies and in the filmmakers, they are realizing how this is something that exponentially increases the possibilities of doing things that in the past they would not have been able to do. So in that case, yes, when you bring that hybrid production through AI, the possibilities are endless.
I will back to this question later. And you from traditional filmmaking background, so what's the difference between traditional film and TV production and AI generated microdrama creation?
The major difference between traditional production and AI, I would say, is the possibilities. You can do everything and anything because I've created a lot of ideas in my career. I've been working on advertising, film over 25 years now, and I can tell you that in the past, I do remember having a great idea, and then you go and try to pitch it with a pitch deck, or you would simply would not be able to produce it. And nowadays, that's where the possibilities expand to the point where you can do almost anything. And I say almost because in theory, there's some limitations or some boundaries to what AI can do and cannot do. Most of them are not the tools, I have to tell you. Most of them are based on the skill. Because the way we work at Unshot, we are able to accomplish a certain degree of hyperrealism to the point that we can generate assets that look real, that feel real, and that can either be 100% integrated with any production when we talk about hybrid, or that can on its own serve as an independent piece, whether it's a trailer, an episode for a microdrama, or simply a mood video or a pitch video. So in that case, nowadays, when you are a creative, and that's what we do at Unshot, we start from an idea. When you are a creative, you can have any idea in the world, and you're going to be able to bring it to life. Now, when you have the ability to do all these things with AI, you also have to have an understanding of what can be done and it will look good, or the things that maybe it's a great idea, but you have to do it in a different way. You have to change some shots. You have to adjust it so it will be perfect for AI. So with all these considerations in mind, I would say that yes, it's an infinite realm of possibilities that you can or ideas that you can create with AI.
Is your company fully moved to AI? If so, why did you make that decision?
Well, we background actually comes from advertising mostly, and we've done a lot of work with film in the past in our careers. Myself and also my partner Alona, who also has plenty of experience with video. So we come from not only film but also social media, commercials, and all of this has given us an edge when it comes to nowadays use the tools, like I said before, from a creative angle, but also as UNSHOT, the production company, is fairly new. We've only been in the market for about 3 months or so. And what we've seen is that through experimentation and trying the tools and testing, we've been able to accomplish things like in the past we would not have been able to accomplish. So what I would say is the main difference between the work that we used to do before and the work that we can do right now is that right now the only limits that we have are basically our imagination and with some kind of boundaries when it comes to which things we do want to create or how we want to create them.
Also, I want to ask the difference between AI advertising production, because you mentioned about you doing some
Mhm.
commercials, right? And AI
Yes.
short form content, also AI short form storytellers. Is there any difference? If so, what are the key difference?
Well, when it comes to advertising, usually the work that we end up doing is either 30-second commercials, 15-second commercials, or even shorter formats for social, all the types of content. Sometimes we end up doing 60-second videos, but there's a huge difference between doing just one single commercial and a whole production. The first thing is all the legalities around the commercial and the clients and the expectations and the products and how they should look, and everything needs to be absolutely perfect to a certain degree. So commercial production, when you work for top brands, it's quite complex, and you need to do a lot of testing beforehand to ensure that everything that you say you can do, you can actually do it, even if we are sure that we can do something and that something can look absolutely impeccable. We still like to do tests. We like to do different ways, see different ways to do that so we can achieve what the client wants. Now, when it comes to film, whether it's a short content or a microdrama or full feature film, in those cases, there's some efficiencies when it comes to you create the characters, you create the scenes or the locations, wardrobes, all those kind of things kind of play well in the entire, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour and a half film. Therefore, you can build those faster than you would do a 30-second commercial. Because a 30-second commercial, it's only each frame you need to be doing perfect from scratch, and the next commercial will be about something else, different characters, different locations, different story. So that's the key difference that we've noticed. And then when it comes to the process of creating things, it's also doing a film, it's slightly different in the sense that you would work with a production company, either your key producer in charge or even the director or the screenwriter, but it's always going to be a certain number of people. While with the brands and you have the ad agency coming up with the idea, you work with the creatives, you help them enhance the idea if needed, which we also do with film, but with advertising, they uh, are always more open to make tweaks, to change things, to have a different vision, and that's why they want to work with us because we can take a creative idea for a commercial and we can elevate it. With a film, we've had a bit of everything where we have helped the producers or the director enhance their vision, but sometimes we have the situation where they are very clear of what they want to accomplish, the type of cinematography that they want, the type of movements. They give us very specific specs for the talent that they want, if they're using AI talent. We work with those hybrid elements of AI, in which case it requires a ton more involvement with the production company. Those are kind of key elements. In hybrid, by the way, we do also with commercials, we do full AI hybrid. Nowadays, this is a mix of everything because you can use AI as a full resource to create an entire video, or you can use hybrid in a sense that you will be shooting the entire film and then or commercial, and then you will add effects, or you can use it hybrid in a completely different way, which means you'll have portions that are shot, and then there are other portions that we call unshot, which is basically fully created with AI, and it could be a counter shot of, could be an animal talking, it could be an alien, it could be an explosion, it could be a bunch of other things that you can do to again maximize the production, elevate the idea, and make sure that we bring it to life in the way that the original creator envisioned it.
What kind of AI tools are you using?
We use all kinds of AI tools. We use all of them, I would say. Now, there are some that serve a certain purpose and others that we just take as support for certain things. It all depends on the idea and the script. It depends whether we have human elements or we don't. Typically, we use VO 3.1. Now it's a tool that we've been using a lot. We use Kling, we use Seedance, possible. And that's one key difference between, I would say, commercials and film, that in commercials they are more, they give you, since the beginning, they give you the restricted tools. In some cases, some clients would say, oh, we only want to focus on this tool for certain reasons. And then we have to do the same work, but with the limitations of those tools. While with film, we are a bit more open. Again, it all depends on the people we're working with. But if they're open to all the tools, like I said, yeah, VO 3.1, Kling, Seedance. We use sometimes in some instances we've used Runway. In the past, we used it more than nowadays. Luma, the machine, we've used it as well. Sora, we're using it a lot until recently that it basically faded away. But we found some success in using Sora for some of our projects, and the level of hyperrealism was mind-blowing, which now is still you can accomplish with all the tools and the newer releases of some of these tools.
I'm not sure I can explain it clearly because I also in this section we also are this roundtable we also interview other AI tools from other companies, some platform founders. So basically, it's like they're a pipeline, and their pipeline is connecting with different AI models. So I'm
Yes.
just curious, what's the difference between using their AI pipeline and using directly with different Kling or Cdance or
That's a good question. The difference between using the tools natively or using a platform that will either combine all the different tools or even have their own framework or their own pipeline. So you can go there and in theory plug in your idea, gives you text, gives you an image, gives you a video. And those are tools that are very useful if you just have, let's say, basic knowledge, let's say, and you just go there, you want to do something quick and you are not so picky with the results, you can go and you can do it, or you can embed yourself into the tool and you can do a lot with these platforms as well. Our way of working is it's a bit different. We do have access to these platforms. We work a lot with Magnifique, for example, where they have a combination of all the tools. They have everything. We think it's an excellent tool. There are many others also, incredible tools nowadays appearing and disappearing, and there's a lot of movement, as you can imagine. But we always go back to native with certain things just because of the speed. It allows us to do many iterations of the things that we're doing. We also don't rely so much on other platforms' pipelines or workflows. We have our own pipeline, we have our own structure of how we create things. And if you were to ask me, and we get this question a lot, what's your workflow? We always say the workflow depends on the project because it depends on the tools as well. So we might start with one tool and jump to another one, but we might realize in the middle of the project that this is not working well. We already know that certain tools do better when it comes to micro expressions, the texture of the skin, the you want to do animals, if you want to do perfect lip syncing, if you need to dub it, you know how where to go. If you need to a specific cinematography, we know which different tools we can use to enhance the prompts to get there. So it's a little bit of everything, but we do not use one specific platform that's the go-to platform to do things, because then it would be restricting ourselves when it comes to creativity and being able to enhance and elevate any ideas. The only restrictions that we impose on ourselves are two. One is if a client has their own restrictions for whatever the reason, then we fully respect that, of course. And the second thing is that we want to do everything original. We want to make sure that whenever we craft an idea, that we have the human involvement in it. In the acting, we have that as well, in the voices, in the music. Even though we use AI throughout the process, we ensure that we can embed that human element because we come from a creative background and we still do believe that creativity it's mainly human and it plays an outstanding role when it comes to building any kind of AI films.
You just mentioned about human involvement. Can you explain more about it? How do you implement your human involvement in AI, like let's say AI macro drama production?
The way we see AI at UNSHOT is as a creative partner. A creative in the sense that it serves you as in brainstorming. It helps you come up with some ideas, with some elements of the film, some solutions for things that you already are thinking of. So, for example, we would never go to AI and say, "Oh, give me an idea for this," but we will say, "Okay, this is an idea. How can we make it better?" And then as it's giving you the results, we give the feedback. We work as creative directors in this case, where we will say, I don't like this. This is how I would do this line. We wrote the scripts, we write the scripts. And then from that, we can make tweaks. We can do corrections. We can do quick things, or we can do something faster just because we're using AI at that level, but it's just to polish things. It's not to do anything from scratch. So in terms of the video, it's the same thing before, and I always say this. When you work with AI from a creative perspective, your first prompt is not written on a computer. Your first prompt is written on paper. We go out, we walk, we brainstorm, we come up with ideas, we come up with the vision for how we would bring a specific idea to life. What would be the camera movements? What's the type of cinematography? We do a lot of research before we even get in front of the computer to write a prompt. And the prompts that we write are not simple prompts, as you can imagine. They're incredibly long. So the human factor in that case plays a big role when it comes to creating the ideas, the scripts, and all this. I will say also that when it comes to the human element in terms of the actors, we also believe that using real actors dramatically increase the quality of the work. Whether you are doing a hybrid production where you're using a real actor, you're shooting the actor, and then we are enhancing with AI, that's one great possibility. But the other one is to just have the actor to act the scenes, to see how it would be brought to life in a way like how you would do it with a traditional CGI, with some sort of animation where you would have the actor performing the scene and then you would translate that into AI. And we do that in many different ways. Sometimes we do it through motion control. Sometimes we use that as a reference for the micro expressions. And the same for the voices. We can use an unlimited, almost not unlimited, but we can use tons of different voices as you may need for your project. But the acting, the delivery, and all those things we typically do with actors because it's the only way that can have 100% control of what we are doing. And then if we do something like a pitch video, quick mock-up, something like that, then yes, you can go even full AI and you can make everything happen. Again, it depends a lot on the project, it depends a lot on what you're trying to do, and you just need to have a good understanding of what AI can do and or what it can do at a certain level of perfection that you may need and what it just cannot reach there, in which case, and this is important, at Unshot, we never say when you come with an idea, we never say, no, it cannot be done. We say, it can be done, but this is how we would do it to the level of quality that we expect from ourselves and that we want to deliver. So there's always ways, there's always workarounds, and part of it is not because of the tools, what the tools can and cannot do. It's also because of how you see the idea, how you can build the idea, and how to use those tools. And that's where the key difference comes to play.
Let's pause for a second. Imagine you are in a crowded marketplace. Vendors selling cakes, jewelries, all kinds of things. And you are one of the vendors trying to sell a story. What kind of story will you tell? And more importantly, how do you keep people stop listening and actually pay? That's the narrative logic of short drama. I explain this in my book, Short Drama Writing 101. Write what platforms want. It's available on Payhip, Amazon, and Google Playbooks. Now let's back to the video.
Yeah, based on your answer, so before you use an AI pipeline or AI tools, you already have everything in your head, right? So when those AI tools or different models, they create something, did it ever happen that what they generate is better than what you imagine?
Usually we have a lot of control over the AI tools. So we hardly ever go and test just for the sake of testing what it is that it can pop. We have a clear vision of what we want to do because everything that we do is intentional. So we need a specific shot in a certain way. So we need it to be like that. Now, it does happen sometimes that you will get something that it's different from what you expected. And in that case, we would explore that possibility. We would see how we can enhance it or how we can use it if we can use it. So we kind of know what to expect because we are very intentional about what we can get. What I can tell you is that it does happen a lot when we work with a client, when we work with a production company, with a director, that they are the ones that do not expect to see what they are going to see. That's where the huge surprise comes to a certain extent, where they expected something in a certain way and they see how we present it, they see how it looks, and they are mind blown by the possibilities. Because the truth here is that everyone has seen a lot of AI lately. Even in the last 6 months, I would say everyone's been doing AI. There's a lot going on. We've been doing this, like I said, UNSHOT has been in the market for the past 3 months. But we've been dabbling into AI, experimenting because we have this creative background. We were on our own as well, experimenting with AI for the last 2 to 3 years. So we have a lot of knowledge of how these things would go. So there's a lot of possibilities, and people, again, even if you've seen a lot of AI in social media, or if you've been exploring companies that can do this type of work, every time you see it, you do see the limitations, but you don't know exactly if those limitations are from the tools or from whoever is doing the work. And everyone has different workflows, everyone has different ways of approaching things, and we work in a certain way because we try to accomplish certain things in certain ways. And mostly because of our advertising background, we rely a lot on the conversations that we have with the clients, with the producers, to ensure that whatever they're looking for, we're seeking that. So I think that's the true advantage, let's say, that we do have, in a sense that we are very, like I said before, intentionally in what we are trying to accomplish. And that makes a huge difference nowadays in AI, whether you just do something to that's gonna look nice, and whatever you get, you might like it. And there's some incredible videos out there. I admire a lot of people doing certain work out there. But when you have to work with a client, that's when really things get more complex, when you do have to be very specific about the prompts and the outputs that you're gonna get from that work.
Theoretically speaking, every creator, even without any filming background, right, can use AI tool to create whatever they want to create. So, of course, you got a very experienced background and in advertising and filmmaking and everything. So, what do you think the biggest thing that for those creators to create their own a good quality content, what kind of thing they should have for their imagination or what?
Well, creativity is something that you can learn too. And I always say that everyone is creative. Some people just don't explore it and they come up with one idea, and maybe it's not the best idea. And they say, well, I'm not that creative. And whenever someone says, well, I'm not creative, I always answer the same, I always say the same thing. Creativity is not about having random great ideas. Creativity is about work. It's about putting the hours and brainstorming. And for every great idea that I've had in my career, I've probably had 100 bad ideas. And it's not just because I am better or worse creative than anybody else. It's because I put the time into looking for that great idea. When it comes to the tools, when it comes to those people that want to get into AI or want to get better at it, I would say that if you do have a background in, let's say, advertising, film, art, that's going to help you a lot. If you don't have it, my advice is before you jump into the tools, close your computer and try to learn about filmmaking. Try to learn the language, the shots, the styles, the cinematography, because that's what's going to help you. Once you have that idea, how are you going to bring it to life? If you expect to go to AI, type something on your computer and get something great, it's not going to happen. It will happen, or it can happen, that you do a single prompt and you find something that you like. And that's all fair, that's all good. Same as you can have a digital camera and you can go out and you can take an incredible photo. And it could be that you are gifted, or it could be that you are just lucky. The question is, can you do it over and over again? Can you create an entire composition of photos in a way that it makes sense, that it has a consistent light, that it has that artistry behind it? So, yes, before you go out and buy a camera, go and learn a bit about filmmaking and photography and all these things. Before you jump into the tools with AI, same thing. You need to learn the basics of storytelling. And if you don't have that, you're going to struggle a lot.
You need to visualize everything before you start using the AI tool. Makes sense. So I asked this question to every speaker that I interviewed. How do you personally define short drama, and what do you think the essence or core of this format?
So we've been seeing this the format of vertical microdramas increase in popularity dramatically, and the reason for it, I believe, it's anchored in our experience with social media and fast-paced environments, and the fact that there's a certain magic in watching a film that's an hour and a half or 2 hour film, and it serves a purpose, which is beyond, I would say, entertainment. If when you watch a great movie, it fills the soul and it takes you to another level, and it helps us humans in many ways, from the people that create those films to the people that are the audience that go and watch those films. Now, when it comes to vertical microdramas, it has a specific edge to it, which is it combines that artistry of a film with the fast-paced environment of social media, where you would have those episodes that kind of hook you since the beginning and leave you a cliffhanger towards the end. So the pacing for it is completely different, and I think that that's what's brought this type of work to this degree of importance, let's say, nowadays, because people get hooked with one episode. They think that they're going to be on their phone only for a few minutes. They watch one episode, then another one, and it's great how you can basically enjoy it at your own pace. You might watch the whole show all at once. You might binge watch like we do nowadays with streaming platforms. We have the on-demand service. So I think that's the key element about the vertical micro dramas, that give you the ability to go at any time and look for those. I do think that they are, and I know that they are still evolving. There's going to be a lot more genres that are coming into play. I think that AI is going to make an impact in it, because we're going to be able to, before we've always been restricted by budgets, and especially when it comes to the vertical micro drama space, budgets are not at the same level that you would have traditionally with a big film. But nowadays with AI, you can create worlds that before were impossible to think. A vertical microdrama you produce, you can have a house, one location, two locations, three locations, and a certain number of characters. But when it comes to AI, that's when you can enhance it. So I think that that's something that's going to keep growing, but not only in a sense of the volume, but the quality, and also the genres, the audiences for it are going to be increasing and diversifying as well.
You just mentioned about expand genres. Since you've produced some AI micro dramas, do you see any expanded genres?
Yes, well, I can tell you that right now, for example, from our end, there are things that we always say there's a ton of value to this, which is the time period dramas, for example, the King and the Queen, or all those kinds of things. When you go and shoot, unless you have a fairly big budget, you're limited in the location, so you need to be doing tighter shots, which we do a lot because of the nature of vertical microdramas. You do a lot of tight shots, things like this. But if we want to do an establishing shot in a great palace, in something like that, AI, we can create a full production based on the 17th century. We could do also sci-fi. We could do almost anything, and that's a couple of examples of genres that do benefit from AI. I mean, obviously, the time period stories, science fiction. We have certain things with action, action-packed films can also benefit a lot from AI. And like I said, whether you go full AI or you just shoot your talent and then you have these beautiful environments created with AI, that's what it gives you. Because up until now, we were restricted by the possibilities of the production. But also, truth be told, there are certain audiences that peak when it comes to vertical microdramas, correct? And as the genre or as we evolve in terms of not only the ideas, the script, but also the production enhanced by AI, we're going to be able to tackle other stories that will be crafted for other audiences that even right now they are not so much into this format. So I do see an exponential growth in when it comes to vertical films, let's say, because at that point it would not be microdramas, it would be called any other type of depending on the genre, depending on the style, but and it's going to increase because they're going to be tailored to those audiences. So if now it's growing immensely, I imagine once we can tap into all those audiences, and the possibilities are going to be endless.
What do you think the future of content conception will look like in the AI era?
I think we're going to see a lot more that's good work, good stories, bad stories. Traditionally, I would say that we've always seen good stories and bad stories. It all depends on who's doing them, who's creating them, or many times it depends on the audience if you like it and who's to judge what you like, right? When it comes to AI, it depends. It's about the fact that you can have your own idea, you can have your own script, you can bring it to life, and that's something that, from a creative perspective, I can tell you that's a dream. And if someone comes to me with a script and it's their dream idea and they want to do it, and they are going to do it themselves and they ask my opinion about it, even without reading the script, my opinion is always the same. If you believe in the idea, if you really like it, if you dream about it, go for it and try to execute. Do it in a way that's smart. Do a pitch video first, do a trailer, see how what's the eagerness, let's say, from people to watch that kind of idea. Because at the end of the day, you still do need an audience. But if you are more on the artist side, you just want to do it because it fulfills your dream, and then you might have limited success with it. But what's success at the end of the day? It's the ability to create something that you're happy with. If you're happy with it, I would say that you've been extremely successful. And that's what AI is bringing nowadays to the table, the ability for everyone to create a story.
It might be a tough question. Do you think AI will replace film or will combine with films?
I don't think that AI will replace film. I don't think it should replace film. I do believe in the artistry of filmmaking. I do think that there's a space for everything. And when it comes to combining, yes, of course. But the same way that we can watch a film that's an animated film, seen a lot of films that were created with CGI. We've seen entire films that were created with a green screen because the technology was there at the time. I think that's what we need to look forward, how the technology is going to improve the ideas. The ideas are always the core of the business. I would say the ideas are the core of our humanity and what we do and what we like. And only humans do understand what we will like not now, but in the future. And I've done a lot of focus groups because of my background in advertising and also with films. I've worked with some big studios in the past on the agency side, and I can tell you that you can go to a focus group, and the focus group human people, they will tell you this is what we like or this we don't like. And then they can be completely wrong. And they can be completely wrong because you might think that you see something that you would not react to it, you might not like it, but your subconscious is telling you that there's something in there that attracts you. Whether it's in a commercial that they say, "Oh, I would never buy a product with this, whatever." That's your opinion when you're in a focus group. But when you step out of that focus group, that might be a different reaction. With films, it's the same thing. You go to a projection when a movie has is not even released, and they have portions that still with green screens or things like this. You go and you fill your questionnaire. The audience decides if they like the actors, if they like the scenes, what they didn't like. But at the end of the day, it's the entire idea and it's the entire film what tells you if it's going to be successful or not. So you do need to be careful how you see those things before you make any realistic decision about whether something is good or it's not good.
Yeah, and those are another tough question. Just with the AI, it's easier to produce anyone's creative ideas, right? Is it going to generate too many AI generated micro dramas?
Because of the tools, the AI tools are available to everyone. There's going to be more people that have access, of course. There's more people that are going to be creating things. I don't see that as a disadvantage. I see that as a possibility for everyone to go and explore and test and play with it and create. And that to me is a huge win for the entire industry, the entire creative industry, and for us humans as a whole, where we can go and we can do our own thing. And it's the same as a digital camera, whether it's for photography or whether it's for film. Would you say that since the advent of digital films, there's been an improvement in things? There's films, a lot of bad films, but there's a lot of films. So there's a lot of options that you have when you want to go and watch something. So AI is just gonna grow, let's say, increase the amount of content. But I think that same as happened with filmmaking, where anybody with a camera would go and try to shoot something. At some point, they realized that yes, you can have the best camera, but unless you do have the ideas, unless you understand the language, and unless you have the storytelling abilities, you're not going to go anywhere because you do need all those things, and then you do need to put the effort. With AI, it takes us a step further because I would say that most people can afford the tools. The tools is not a huge price tag that only certain people can pay. It's something that kind of puts us all almost like at the same level. So the tools are not going to make the difference. The talent is, and it comes from the perspective of the creators and your skill to do things, but also not just the prompting, but also the not only the prompting, but also the ideas around it, how to bring things to life.
Is there anything you want to share or want to cover?
What I would say is that I want to emphasize that if someone has a production that requires a certain level of, if they do need to enhance the production, I would say take a look at AI. It's now available. I mean, in ourselves in Shot, we have great examples on our website where you can go and you can see the level of work we can do. So maybe if you've never explored the possibility of using AI, you need to take a look because it will surprise you. And trust me when I say that whether you want to create a full AI production or you just want to use AI to maximize your production budget, take a look at it and see what the possibilities are. When it comes to the creators, I will just say that go out and play with the tools, do exercises, come up with the ideas, but do not rely on AI to do all the work. Think first, have an idea, have something compelling to say, and from that, just jump into the tools and see what the tools can do for you till the moment that you can show the world what you can do with the tools.